Good morning, everyone. I'm Whitney Will from Star Earth Astrology, and today, about a week before we enter Gemini season, I wanted to touch base and talk about mutability. So what I mean is, when I say mutability, I'm talking about the orientation of the mutable signs. So in astrology, that is Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, and Sagittarius. And so they are the third in the succession. If we begin with Aries, or we begin at the start of any of the seasons, the signs at the beginning of the seasons, we have Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. And those are the cardinal signs. They begin the seasons. Then the signs that follow them are the fixed signs that hold steady and constant. And that is Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And then we have the mutable signs, the signs that bridge from the heart of each season through the ending. And we have, as I said before, Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, and Sagittarius. And so I just wanted to break down the virtues and the shadows of mutability as we prepare to enter Gemini season. That will require a lot of flexibility from us because there's a lot of different things going on. And mutability, while it's not good for everything, is good at connecting kind of those disparate parts. So I've been thinking a lot about this because our culture doesn't value mutability so much. While, every job description is going to ask for a multitasker, which is Gemini, the other facets of mutability are not so favorably looked upon. Because the key feature of mutability is that it responds to what is around it. So what it is depends on the environment and the people around it. So I think the feminine mutable signs, Virgo and Pisces, struggle the most with this because the more yang are traditionally masculine. Signs of Gemini and Sag have a little bit more oomph, a little bit more push, right? They're not receptive and mutable like Virgo and Pisces. And so kind of they have a little bit more of a ferocity of self. They're a little bit more ontologically secure in knowing who they are, whereas Virgo and Pisces, right, the virtue of those signs is to be supremely receptive. And when we have a culture that's driven by, figuring out who you are and then doing that, right, really solar, or the development of a personal brand and this prize of like, if you can just galvanize your ego into one thing and then you stand for that one thing and you just do that one thing and get on your career track and you do that. That is not very mutable. It's also it's very solar. And so the mutable signs and their receptivity and their responsiveness to the environments that they're in are kind of soft skills, is probably how we would frame them. And so the mutable signs, they walk between worlds. What they are, the kind of constantness within them, exists somewhere else. And how they show up in our world and how they might show up in your chart. So to ground this in your own experience, connect with the planetary archetypes that you have in mutable signs. So any planets or angles that you have in Gemini, Pisces, Virgo, or Sag. because they are changeable, and they are changeable from moment to moment, and they're going to change as they respond to external stimuli and to internal stimuli. So I think probably most Gemini and Pisces have a reputation for being flaky or changeable. Gemini, I've also heard called two-faced, and at worst duplicitous. Virgo can be finicky and fickle. All of these words, most of which have a pejorative sense of changeableness. Also unfocused, distracted, ADD. We ascribe all of these things to mutable signs because their essential function is to bridge between things. And when you are the connective tissue, you are not the primary structure. And we want people to have this kind of consistent internal cohesion. Emerson, Ralph Waldo Emerson, responds to this in an essay that he writes, and he says, what we really need to do is be loyal to ourselves in each moment, and the consistency will emerge over time, just as when a ship that is sailing, if you actually tracked its short movements, it would look very wobbly, very inconsistent. But if you zoomed out over time, you would be able to see the course that it was tracking. And so the mutability gives us this ability to kind of move around within the moment. And part of it is when we're really zoomed in and we're trying to really focus, it can look distracted. But it's really kind of bringing everything along at the same time, doing a bunch of tasks at the same time. And so we need to have the patience within ourselves while we bring along kind of all of the children in our minds, all of the children in our care, and understand, right, that as we grow as people, we're not one thing, right? We've got, the things that we're working on in the various areas of our lives are all kind of different ages and at different stages of development. And mutability can honor the ways in which we're all changing and we're all playing many, many different roles. And how when it looks like things are kind of falling apart or being inconsistent, we're really just shifting in those areas. And so Gemini season, I think, especially this year, when we're coming out of lockdowns, when more of us are getting vaccinated and we're moving around, is how do we come out of these cloistered lives that we've been living? How do we come out of the routines that we've built? It's going to look chaotic. It's going to require a lot of energy. There's going to be some frenetic feels to the whole thing as we manage multiple moving parts. And I want you to love the spaces of your inconsistencies. What if you saw that as balancing multiple creative impulses, balancing how you have to finish things and start things at the same time, how nothing in this world is pure, how when we are called to our outer work and our inner work, that it's actually not a choice. We always have to choose both. We always have to still participate in the world around us, no matter what's going on inside. And we also need to tend the inner world, no matter what is going on outside of us. We always have to choose both. And I think not fighting it and understanding that that Gemini is the sign that chooses both, and really honoring that urge within ourselves and that urge in the people around us, that it may not be plotting the surest course between A and B. It may be doing a little bit of this, 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 circling back around, circling around, and using the moon in her quick paces to move around in that space and not worry so much about the solar tasks of being goal-oriented. I also want to spend a moment thinking about how the mutable signs, 2 of them are ruled by Jupiter, Sagittarius and Pisces, and 2 of them are ruled by Mercury, Gemini and Virgo. And Mercury is going to break things down into little pieces. So with Virgo and Gemini, you find things are separated, things are sorted into little boxes. We have all of the disparate parts laid out. And Jupiter, conversely, is going to work towards the synthesis of those parts. So Jupiter is going to look for the sum of everything, right? So in Sagittarius, that is the sum of all of the ideas in Gemini. What are the unifying principles that can hold all of this? And in Pisces, it is going to look to re-synthesize all of the pieces that Virgo has broken down, right? In Virgo, we find God in the details. In Pisces, we find God in our sense of unity with the whole. And so Jupiter is going to do that in Pisces. And we have Jupiter moving into Pisces. So I think what that is going to give us is a deeper sensitivity to the world and other people around us, a deeper craving for spiritual fulfillment, and this sense of being connected. And so I think we'll feel that. And we've got Mercury and Gemini looking at all of the little pieces, and Jupiter and Pisces kind of connecting us to all of the parts. And I think that we can get really overwhelmed with all of those pieces. And so, right, part of the consistency of mutable signs is, oh, I thought I was going to be able to do this, but now I'm feeling really overwhelmed and I need to tend this inner thing. And it's not actually to take a step back from the outer world. It is to take a moment in the inner world that will really refresh us and restore us for our work in the outer world. And then we go out into the outer world and we gather those experiences and we bring them into the inner world and we digest them. And that gives us nourishment or inspiration or a moment of rest or a question. And then we go back into the outer world and we gather it back. And so this movement, in fact, I'm a Waldorf kid. And in the Eurythmy alphabet, this is M. M for mutability, inner and outer at the same time. So I hope this was interesting for you to watch. A little meditation on mutability before we enter Gemini and before Jupiter enters Pisces. Thank you.